Thank you for joining this.
I can't. Wait, I can't hear what you're saying.
Okay, good day, everyone. Good day,
Okay.
Comfort. I guess everyone can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you
Yeah, apologies for commencing this section kind of late. It was due to some unforeseen circumstances. I can see somebody is commenting hi. Yes, you're welcome to Nigerian Law Student Tutorial. So this is a platform where your fellow law students or law graduates, as the case may be, use an opportunity, uses to tutor and educate each other on salient aspects of the law we need to know, and also some specific areas that we find difficult. So today we are going to be looking at writing a winning project. We discovered that most undergraduates find it difficult to write their project, and today we are going to be having that robust section where we will discuss on how to write a winning law undergraduate project. This is so that we can enable undergraduates to pick up the courage to write their projects themselves. My name is Arize Isdo. I'm a law graduate from the River State University, and I have with me a very dedicated legal mind with me. You know, she don't want me to praise her, but I'm gonna praise her today. So she's one of the best, she's the best graduate students from her department, River State University, and we are going to have her, educate us on how to write a reading project. I have with me Comfort Asobino Uma. Sorry, in case I did not pronounce your name well.
You tried. You
Okay,
tried.
so Comfort. Without wasting much time, I will leave the floor for you now to tell us about a general overview of your project. Then we'll proceed to the various questions.
Okay. So can everyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Welcome. Okay. So basically, a law project consists of the preliminaries. Those are the pages before your chapters 1 to 5. Then from the preliminaries, you go to your chapters 1 to 5, and then your bibliography. This is just like a general of what the law project
All
consists
right.
of. So you can go ahead with the question.
Okay, so Miss Comfort, my first question for you here is, what does each chapter of a law project contain, and how should it be written?
Okay.
Yeah.
So for the 5 chapters, I'll be starting with the 5 chapters. I'm going to walk everyone down through the 5 chapters. So the first chapter is your introduction. Is chapter one. So this format of chapter one is consistent with everybody's in everyone's work. So 1.1, we have background to the study. So what's the background to the study? Background to the study is basically like a general introduction to your work. It's a that's heading as to why you choose the topic. Then you can also highlight some issues on the topic and how you intend to handle those issues highlighted in the topic. So this will take us to the next heading, which is 1.2, and that's the statement of the problem. So under the statement of the problem, in a research work, you have to highlight the major issues you want to discuss and address in those in your research. So let's say, for example, you're writing on environmental law dealing with climate change. You can point out issues, practical evidence that would support your problem. For example, now you're writing on climate change. What are the problems that climate change has caused and is also causing in Nigeria now? For example, you can recall that last Christmas we didn't experience Hamatan. So that's a practical evidence that can such question. So it goes there for the second or subject. So then the 1.3, you're going to be dealing with your these questions are what your research hopes to answer. So it's usually 4 in number. Is a standard, but it could be more. It could be 5 or more, but generally it should be 4 in number. But it could be more. There's no particular standard for the number of research questions you can have. So let's say, for example, you're
So I hope you can hear her.
in the can you hear me? Your research
Yeah,
questions
yeah,
can
your
be
network broke at some point.
lines of what are the existing legal and institutional frameworks for environmental protection. So that's a good example of a research question, but you should couch it in line with your topic and what your research seems to solve. So the 1.4,
I don't know if you're a bit fast. Can you just take it? I don't know if they can grapple with your pace. Your pace rather.
okay,
You
okay,
appear to be
no,
more
no
fast.
problem. Okay, so let's continue with 1.4. I was talking about the
Yeah.
aim and objectives of the study. So your aim is like let's say a general statement of your of the purpose of carrying out your research. Then this will be your objective. So if your research questions are 4, your objectives also have to be 4. Because I gave you an example of a research question. So a practical example of an objective should be, okay, I said what are framework. So a practical example of your objective should be to critically analyze the existing legal and institutional frameworks for environmental protection. That's a good example of an objective. So from aim and objective, note I said aim and objective, not aims and objectives. People usually make the mistake of writing aims and objectives. So it's supposed to be aim, no S added, and objective. So then 1.5 is dealing with the scope of your study. So it talks about the content, the coverage of your content, the coverage of the subject matter of your topic. So you're also going to be discussing whether your the scope of your content is limited to Nigeria. For example, if you're dealing with a topic that has the word in Nigeria, so you're going to be limiting your geographical scope to Nigeria. But if it's a comparative analysis, you can be doing your scope of study could also include a comparative analysis from the different jurisdictions you'll be talking about. So that's that for your scope of study. It deals with the content of your subject matter, the content of the coverage of your geographical scope, and so on. So from 1.5, which is the scope of, we'll be going to 1.6, which is the significance of your study. Now, as the name implies, what's important research work to let who are the beneficiaries that will be research work? Are they going to impact on existing policies? Is it going to impact on existing practices? Who are the people that are going to benefit from it? So that's when the significance of study to be like to talk about the important research work to particular sections of the society. So from 1.6, which is the significance of the study, we move to 1.7, which is the
Now,
limitations of
excuse
the
me,
study.
just so that everybody is following up. Now, the one means that it's chapter one. So you're looking at
Yes,
chapter one, so like the subtopic or under it, right?
point
Yes.
1, 1.2, I set them down to
Right, right.
1.7.
Just to ensure that everyone is following up the conversation.
Okay, so can I
Okay, you can go
continue?
on. Yes.
Okay, so 1 point, the limitations of your study. So under this heading, under this subheading, sorry, you're going to be talking about the constraints and the problems you encountered in the course of your research. For example, say you can start like this, your work is so significant and requires a lot of do it, but maybe you didn't have enough time to carry on it. So that's the limitation. You can also talk about how inadequacy of funds. You know how data bonds are very expensive these days. You can also add that in your limitations of your study that you didn't have enough time to buy textbook. Most of needed in your research work, they were expensive. So those are limitations of your study. You can also talk about how the library, access to the library is limited. You know, library is normally open during specific hours of the day. Then another limitation can also be how if maybe your work is so complex or you're dealing with an emerging area of law. So that's also limitation. So
All right.
after outlining this concept, you still have to add that although at you've also done your due diligence in carrying out your work as a good researcher. So you're not just going to end with just listing out all the problems. You're still going to try and tell people that yes, you've tried in conducting a good research despite all the limitations. So from 1.7, which I talked about now as limitations of the study, we move to 1.8, which is the structure of your study. Now, the structure of your study, this is like the simplest parts in this chapter one. You just have to do a general overview of your chapter identified in simple sentences, like just one paragraph for each of the chapters, so that when someone sees your work, they can just visualize it. They can just see the whole review of your work. So that so they're going to listen to chapter two. Can I go ahead?
Yes, you can go ahead.
Sorry, I made a mixed up. 1.7 limitations of study. 1.8 your research methodology. That
Okay.
before going to 1.8 about structure of study. So the structure of study I just talked about now is 1.9, but 1.8 has to be your methodology. We have the doctrinal research methodology and the non-doctrinal research methodology. So for faculties of law, I think most faculties they use the doctrinal research methodology. You can just briefly explain what research methodology is now. Doctrinal research methodology involves the use of you consult primary sources and also in the course of your research. You can make sources in consist of your constitution, legislations, but your secondary sources could also be textbooks, articles, and journals. These are your secondary sources that you could consult the course of your research. So that's basically what chapter 1 is all about. The format is consistent in everyone's work. So I've listed it 1.1 to 1.9.
All right,
I want to
that's
move on to
very great.
chapter
So,
2.
okay, we'll proceed to chapter 2. I believe everyone is following up this conversation. All right, you can please proceed. So please,
Basically an analysis or
okay,
an
please
assessment.
before you proceed, yeah, please before you proceed, in case I missed it, if you're watching this live broadcast, we're talking about how you can write a winning law project as a law student. This page is Nigerian Law Student Tutorial, and so we're having that chat and that conversation. So a lot of persons will know how to write, you know, their law project themselves. All right. So if you're with us, please do well to like this page, hit the subscribe button, subscribe so you can get to see us and join us in such conversations subsequently. Thank you very much. You can go on, Miss Comfort.
This work. So the structure of chapter 2 goes like this. 2.1, you start with 2.1, which is a conceptual framework.
Thank you.
Relevant and related to your research topic so that readers can understand. Let's say you're talking on environmental law, environmental protection, you have to define major concepts like sustainability, environment, and then you also have to review relevant literature from authors that wrote about those concepts. So that's for 2.1, which is your conceptual framework. So 2.2, you're going to be talking about your theoretical framework. So now I'm going to admit that this subheading is a little bit tricky. So, theoretical framework, we're going to be selecting existing theories of law that are relevant to your research work. Let's say, for example, the natural theory of law, positivist theory of law. So, Mark, this for relevant textbooks on jurisprudence where they talked about those theories of law. Cite those authors, reference them, and then find a way to link those theories of law to your course, to your research work. I think naturalist theories of law, they are very popular. Even positivist theories of law, they are very popular theories of law. I don't think there's any research work we're going to be discussing about that does not have link. I'll be going to 2.3, which basically now is in this to know why it is very important to jot down all the materials you used in the course of your research work. Maybe you can just get a separate jotter. You write out the textbooks, the articles, everything you use, even online sources you consulted in the course of your research. Just write some of it. I'm going to be analyzing some of these works that are very, very to your work. You're going to analyze them. You're going to be giving the authors their flowers. Yes, you praise them for what they did in their work, and then you also criticize for what they didn't do, so that you can point out the gaps that your own research work is going to be filling. So this will take you from 2.3, which is a summary of literature. It will take you to 2.4, which is your gap in knowledge. Now, what's gap in knowledge? Now, gap in knowledge flows from your summary of literature. Under this subheading, you're expected to outline the gaps existing in the areas of your research work. You've not put in those things that you for gap in knowledge. You can say you consulted this book, you consulted, but the author did this, the author did not do this. So those are the gaps that your research work is going to fill in. So that's all for chapter 2. I'm going to chapter 3 now, which is the legal and
Okay,
institutional framework.
okay. I hope you are following the conversation. Okay, I just want you to stick through the 2 points that you're referring to is chapter 2. So we're looking at the subtitle for each of them in your project work. Okay, so if you're still with us, do well to like, subscribe to this channel. Why should go further? You can continue in Miss Comfort. Chapter
Okay,
3.
so your chapter 2 is basically the legal and institutional framework. So this chapter 3 is what is going to distinguish your work as a legal researcher from non-legal researchers. Because under this chapter, you're going to be analyzing all the relevant laws and institutions that are relevant to your research work you're conducting.
Thank you.
So chapter 3 basically begins with your 3.1. You talk about your legal framework. Then 3.1.1, you discuss your national legal framework. Those are the national laws. Like you're discussing about your research work is related to Nigeria. So you're going to know of Nigeria are relevant to your research work. So 3.1.1 is the national legal framework. 3.2 is the regional legal framework. 3.3 international legal framework, and then 3.4 it's institutional framework. So that's basically what you're going to be discussing. So I want to move on to for the sake of time.
Okay, you can, yeah, you can move on.
Okay, so chapter 4. Chapter 4 is like the main work. Chapter 4 is the main work.
Did you
And
talk about?
okay,
It seems like
you were saying something?
I was a bit interrupted when you're talking about your chapter 3. Did you mention the institutional framework?
Yes, 2.4 institutional frameworks comes under 3.4.
And then just so that they can note, because unlike your legal framework where you have to look at it national, you know,
Mm-hmm.
regional, foreign, and international. In your institutional framework, we don't have to be that. We just look at the Nigerian institutional framework,
Oh,
right?
yeah, yeah, yes, yes.
Okay, okay. Just so that they can know. Thank you. You can proceed. And if you're watching this
Okay.
video, please do well to subscribe to the channel. Let's go on.
So second, chapter 4 is the main theme of your work. So now, this the heading of your chapter 4. There is no consistent format with everyone's work. It's peculiar to your own research topic. So this one is like you're basically on your own. There's no sample that you would want to go and check, because if you're going to be checking samples of other people's work, it means their own work, and then that's absolutely prohibited. So this chapter is normally very tricky for most people. But one of the hacks is that I should briefly restate my topic in chapter 4. After briefly reading them, then you can separate them into four major headings. From these four major headings, you can get as many subheads as possible. So, for practical explanation, I'm going to be using an example of my own talk. So, my research topic was on the legal and institutional frameworks for environmental in Nigeria, the problems and
Right.
prospects. So, I briefly restated it by saying what problems. The title of my chapter 4 was Problems and Prospects of the Legal and Institutional Frameworks for Environmental Protection. So from 4.1, I did an overview of the legal and institutional frameworks. In 4.2, I addressed the challenges that the legal and institutional that the legal frameworks. Yes, I addressed the challenges of the legal framework. So in 4.3, I addressed the problems and the challenges of the institutional frameworks. Then in 4.4, it was the last environmental protection in Nigeria. So that's basically what I can summarize about chapter 4. So I want to move on to chapter 5.
So please, before moving on to chapter 5, chapter 4 is just like the cross of your project work. You have to make sure that you answer the core. You have to discuss the core of your project work, right? That's what you're trying to say. If if I get you right. So you have to structure it in a way that it answers the core of your project. It deals with the true it deals is central to your topic. Your chapter 4 is central to your topic, is core. Okay, so quickly I would like to move on to chapter 5 so we could round up for the first question.
Chapter 5 is basically your summary of findings, your conclusion, and your recommendation. Now, for the summary of findings, you have to present the key findings, like everything you found out in the course of your research. And then you should know that if you had four, I'm going back to chapter 1 now. If you had linked, they're linked. Is whether you have 4 or 5. The summary of findings also have to be the same with your report section. So go to conclusion, which is summary of findings. Then 5.2 is your conclusion, summary of the major ideas that you've point two for conclusion. And then 5.2 are your recommendations. Now you know that your recommendations also have to be the same number with your objectives, with your summary of findings, and it also has to be recommendations that are practical, that are enforceable, that are realistic. You don't have to recommend difficult to achieve. So that's that for chapter 1 to 5.
Yeah, that's
Last
very
in your chapters.
okay. Thank you very much for that very expository section. It was really impactful. For those who are joining us, for those who are watching, um, we'll continue. We're not yet done. We still have some questions. Don't forget, this webinar is for 60 minutes, so we still have some time left. And I'm going to use that time to ask questions. I know some of you have questions that some areas you want to seek clarification. I'm going to do that on your behalf. Okay. So I remember when I was writing my own projects, and I had someone I was writing with. I was paid with a student that was also supervised by my supervisor. Not like I was paid with him, but he was. We had the same supervisor, and then his summary of findings was different from what he had in his content. The lecturer was like, "But you did not write these things. How come they are in your summary of findings?" Now that just brings to our fore that what is in your summary of findings should be in what you have written so far from what you have written. That means you don't need to go and look at something outside again. Your chapter 5, you have to look at the entire work that you've written, chapter 1 to 4, and then you come out with your chapter 5. Chapter 5, that's why it's the way it is. Do you understand? So this is just like an additional note to what Ms. Comfort has said. So far, it has been an impactful section, and without wasting much time, if you're watching us, please do well to hit the like button, subscribe to this channel so that you can get more of these insightful and live videos and conversations as well. So, my second question to you is Comfort. Thank you for that very expository and impactful section. Going forward, my second question is, how do you develop strong, logical, and research-worthy content for every chapter? I think you have touched on this to some extent, on how they can
Yes.
develop strong logical research for the content for every chapter. Is there any particular chapter that you feel that, you know, okay, you know that you can just talk on, that you feel that you not talk on so much? Because I feel you have actually spoken about this. Do you have any?
Yes, from what I explained in the first question, I've answered some part of this question, but there are things I also want to add
Okay.
in. I'm not going to just start your research and then you start from chapter 1. Although that's chapter 1, is the first chapter, but it does not necessarily mean you start writing from chapter 1. You can start with chapter 3. So that was the hack, one of the hack my supervisor gave us, to start with chapter 3. Because from chapter 2, you can get a major bulk of your research work. After discussing your legal and institutional frameworks, gotten a major start for your project work. So you can start with chapter 3 before moving on to chapter 1, chapter 2. So that's one of the way we can write a logical notice that it should quotations. Like if you're referencing it's saying you're referencing something that an author has said. Avoid listing lengthy quotation. Maybe some of you would want to make your work very lengthy. So you leave from, like, for example, if you use the constitution, when you're talking about the items in the schedule of the constitution, you don't have to start listing words like everything just to make your work lengthy. That's going to make your work incoherent. So you don't have to leave lengthy quotations. So everything can just flow logically. If you're also referring to particular sections in state section should be and not on the body, so that your work can just flow naturally. So that's what I
Thank you
want
very
to
much.
say.
Thank you very much for that
Mm.
very great insight. I think that's something noteworthy. Everyone who is watching this live stream should note. The chapter 3 is your legal and institutional framework. And as a law student, that's like the core of your project. So once you can handle your chapter 3, once you can wrap up your chapter 3, then it will be easy for you to know what to write in your chapter 1 and 2. That is just like the summary of what she's saying. And some people who have written their chapter 1 and 2 before writing your chapter 3, probably because of what your supervisor demands, probably from what your supervisor demands from you, you understand? You can still, even after writing your chapter 3, go over the chapter 1 and 2 to make sure that it captures maybe some things omi- you must have omitted due to the fact that you have not written your chapter 3. You can still go over to your chapter 1 and 2, and even your table of contents to rearrange them is permitted. All right. So moving forward, without wasting much time, I'll ask the third question. Now, the third question is, what should appear in the table of contents and other preliminary pages?
So you see, your table of contents. I don't know. There's this thing I want to say. Your table of contents is in your table of contents. For those that have already done their table of contents, you understand what I'm talking about. So the table of contents was the first thing our supervisor asked us to submit. I know you will say, why should you submit your table of contents first? You don't have to get everything at first. You just have to try. Okay, what I did was that you can visit the library, look for previous project works that have already been good ones. Then check the structure of the table of contents. Then you can also structure it in line with your research topic. You might not get everything at first, but subsequently, your table of contents can be modified. But you just need to have that table of contents for you to get a sense of direction what you're going to be doing. So basically, I'm going to be talking about each of the things you would see in your table of contents. The students have already discussed in the first question. So can I go ahead with I?
Yes, yes, yes,
Okay,
permitted.
the
Let's know
I
what they will see in their tables of contents, because I think
Okay.
most of them
Table
are
of
in this
con-
stage right now.
okay. Table of contents. You start with your preliminaries. That is before your chapters 1 to 5. From your preliminary pages, you move to chapter 1 to 5, and then your big content. So I'm going to be starting with I. I'm talking about the preliminaries now. So the I is your title page. I don't know if I should give like the exact sentences that should appear in these preliminary pages because I made a very costly mistake during my own research work. I made serious mistake from preliminaries. There was a particular notes guide I copied my um, samples of the preliminary pages from, and then it turned out to be wrong. Even after I had already submitted my project work and posed for the camera, I had to rebind my work again because of the things I did wrong in the preliminary pages. So I'm going to be starting with I, which is your title page, and then be reading out the specific things you're going to see. For your title page, which is I. You have your topic. You write the name of your topic. Maybe according to the specifications of your supervisor, you can do it in initial caps. After writing the topic, you would write your name, your full name. First of all, you write your surname in capital letters, and then you write your first name and your other names if you have. And then after that, you go under, you write your math number. From your math number, you would write your attestation. You can read like this. Let's say, being a final year research project submitted to the Faculty of Law, put the name of your school, some partial fulfillment of the requirements for the award of the degree of Bachelor of Laws. And then under, you would put your date, which is your month and the year in which you are submitting your research. So that's for I, which is a title page. So can I go ahead?
Yes, you can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but I'm not saying you. So I is your abstract. No, abstract now. That's why you should have written before you were doing this abstract in your chapter 5, like a summary of everything you've done. So note that you don't need to eat it. size your abstract. That is, the abstract does not need to be written in italics. It is in single line spacing, as one paragraph block. So the major things that would be contained in your abstract, you would have a general statement relating to your research topic. From the general statement, you can move to the aim and the objective of your research. From your aim and objectives, you can also briefly list some of the concepts you analyze in your research work. From the concepts, you can go to you can go to you can list some of the
Okay,
institutional and legal frameworks you
okay,
consulted in the
okay,
course of your research.
okay. Fine. So just quickly, I believe the listeners have been able to note some of those things that should be contained in your table of content. Just quickly, we would like to have like a rundown. If you have a sample of the table of content, they are just like what it should be like from the preliminary, how it should be arranged. Because you said you made a mistake. Um, some other persons too may also fall prey to this mistake. That is why we're having this
Yes,
um, YouTube live, because we don't want our junior colleagues to be the same mistakes that we have made. So we wish we had something like this. Would have been the mistakes that we made. Some people may want to go
yes,
and rely. Some people may want to go and rely on that or one book or one textbook and all of that, but that textbook may not have everything that they need. Especially it has to do with preliminary pages. I also remember during my own time, I made such the same exactly the same mistake in my preliminary page that you made because I relied on the textbook and that textbook the approval page in the preliminaries was not contained there. I think that one is after they are done writing their project. That's when they'll discover that. But it's important that they
exactly.
they go over their work. They have can you just if it's possible, can you just let us know what the rundown of the project should be like the table of content because I know that's what most persons will be submitting at the early stage of their project work.
Yes,
Is
I
it
was going
possible?
to like yes, I was going to discuss all of them and maybe read out the particular things you're supposed to write in each. So I've
Okay,
discussed
let's
I,
just
which is
see.
your title.
Okay, no, let's keep the discussion. By that time,
Mm-hmm.
they'll have a sample of the title and all of that. They have a sample for that.
Okay.
Let's just do a rundown and just leave them.
So I is your page. I is your abstract. I is your. I want to be careful with this. I is your declaration. Your
Yeah,
declaration. I is your declaration. IV is your certification. Then V is
yeah,
your approval page. Then VI is your dedication. VII is your acknowledgement. VIII is your table of content. That's why I said the table of content is in your table of content earlier. So VII
yeah.
is your table of content. Then IX is your table of cases. X is your table of statutes, and XI are your so that's basically everything in your preliminaries from I to IX. From I to XI.
Okay. That's very good. So when you're done with the preliminary, then you have others now, like how she have already stated it in the first question. You have from your chapter
Mm,
one to your chapter five. Then
like
below it you have your yes, below it you have your
bibliography.
bibliography. Yeah, please don't
Yeah.
skip that. Okay, so we're going to move to the next question. If you're still watching this YouTube live or you're watching later, please endeavor to like if you're enjoying the content and also subscribe so you can get to see us in our subsequent live stream. Okay, so on moving forward, I would like to ask on behalf of our audience, how does math referencing work and how can you apply it correctly with ease?
Okay. Guide, which is the National Association of Law Teachers Guide, is the approved referencing style. Is the approved um, research work. I don't know about other faculties, but I think that's basic. That's the approved referencing style for all faculties of law in Nigeria. So the major way you can use your NALGADs applies with is some of you can see different copies of NALGADs online. The thing you should do is that you should search for the updated one. That's a revised reference each of the things you're going to be referencing on your research work, like from your footnote referencing, you can use a jotter to write out how you can look at how they are going to give you examples of how to reference your bibliography. When you that you're going to be referencing your book. So I have specific examples of each of the things you're going to be referencing. For example, I was starting with textbooks. If you're going to be footnote, it's going to be like this. Let's say practical example. You're going to be starting with the author's name, the name of the author without honorifics. Like if the author is a prof or doctor, you just have to exclude that title. So the author's name and um that's consists of their initials and their surname without honorifics, and then the title of the book in italics, the edition. If it's first edition, you should know that you don't need to write the edition. From second, third edition, you can write that. Then you put the publishers and the year and the particular page in which you're referencing from. So a practical example I'm going to be giving you. Let's look at a book by itself. So I'm going to just um pick how you're going to reference it in your statement and click come across it. So a practical example is GO Akoloko, understanding ethical principles and the law of trust. Now this is the title of the textbook. It's going to be in Italy. And then open your bracket, you see the publisher. The publishers they are printing and associate publishing. You put the year, you close the bracket, then you put the page in which you're referencing from. So that's a practical example of note referencing textbooks. Remember the initials come first before the surname because the format is going to change. If you're referencing bibliography, it's going to be the author's surname first before the initials, and then the title of the book, the textbook, the title of the textbook in italics, and um the publishers and year, but you don't have to put your pages in bibliography. So bibliography is you just reference it like the way I just said. So that's for textbooks. So we go to articles and journals. So how do you reference articles and journals? For footnotes, you reference the article, you put the name of the author or the authors in just put the name of the authors, and then you put the title of the article in single quotation marks. After doing that, you put the name of the journal. So note that the name of the journal has to be italicized. You put it in italics, and then you put the year in brackets, the article and the page in which they appear. So I'm going to be reading a practical example for you for referencing your articles in footnotes. A practical example is this. Let's say E. Waha and A.P. Carrier. The title of this article, put them in single quotation marks, like I said earlier, legal perspectives in addressing climate change in Nigeria. Then the name of the journal in Italy, African Journal of International Energy and Environmental Law, and then the year in bracket 2024, the volume is number is 9, and then the code is, let's say, 86 to 96. So that's a practical example of how to reference an article in your footnotes. Then for the bibliography, like I said before, it's going to change. The author's surname is going to come first. So it's not going to be Warha EE and Military AP, legal perspectives in single quotation marks, the title, legal perspective climate change in Nigeria, and then the name of the journal in italics, year and the volume number. I'm going to moving on to cases, how you can reference your cases. So for referencing cases in your footnote, you're going to put these samples in a standard note guide. I'm just trying to do it so that you can be sure of what you're going to see online or any book you're going to have. So for the cases, you will do it like you put the name of the cases in italics. Let's say this case now, Center for Oil Pollution Watch and NNPC. In italics, initial caps, the and is V, so that one has to be in small letters, and then you put the bracket. That's the year of the report. The the report if it's the parts and the pages, you just cite it like that. Then notice that if you're using square or round brackets for your cases, you have to be consistent in all your in all the cases you're going to be referenced to be consistent if you're using round brackets or square brackets. So that's that for cases. I'll be moving to statutes, how you can reference
So please
statutes.
permit me
Right,
to interrupt. Yeah, in your cases that you mentioned, after
right.
putting the case in italics, on the subject matter, like on the work, we have footnotes referencing for work. Um, what aspect are you supposed to footnote reference? Is it
Okay,
from the
on your
V?
work, your major work. the
Yes,
body
on the
of your
major
work.
work. Yes,
Yeah, you
yes,
just
on the body
write
of the work.
the yes, you just write the name of the case in initial caps, and then you go like okay, after writing the case, immediately after the case, you can insert your footnotes. Then under,
Okay,
that's in the footnote now, you put the
that's very
year of the law report, the particular law report you're citing, the volume, and then the page, the parts and the page. So that's how
that's
you should do
fantastic.
it
You can
in the
go on.
body of the book.
Yes, that's
So did
fantastic.
you
You can
understand
go on.
what I said? Okay. So we're moving to statutes. So like there's something I have to tell you that remember I don't know if I've said it before, but in your project work you have to start each chapter. You have to start each chapter with a fresh footnote. Like chapter one, don't let your footnotes run through each chapter. You have to start each chapter with a fresh footnote. So for example, if you're going to be referencing your statute, let's say in chapter two, or look, let's say in chapter three, you're going to be referencing a statute in the footnote. You have to start with you have to start with the name of the
One.
statute in full, like the full particulars of the statute. Then subsequently you can abbreviate it. Let's say I'm giving a practical example now. Let's say you want to reference the constitution. So it's going to be referenced like this in your footnote. Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 as amended, Cap T23, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2010. You're going to be referencing. Subsequently, you can now shorten the constitution. You do it, let's say CFRN 1999 as amended, and the particular section you're going to be referencing. So that's that for referencing in your footnote.
Okay, that's very great. That's very great. I believe everyone who is watching has understood that. If you need more understanding, you can go on ResearchGate. Just type on
Mhm.
um, NAT referencing guide. I think NAT and Oscula has similar referencing stuff. So
Mm.
you're going to download the guide on ResearchGate. There's a material there that was very instrumental and helpful to me, and I believe if you download that, it's going to help you. So without wasting much time, we have very few minutes left. Moving to the next question, what are the major do's and don'ts of undergraduate law project writing?
Okay, so first of all, I'll tell you to begin your project. You have to start your project with God. Pray for everything about your project, including your supervisor. Pray for it, pray for the process of writing your research because it's not an easy task to accomplish. So you just have to start your project with God. So secondly, I'll be telling you that you should try, you should write your project yourself because there's something you don't know that there's no one that can do your project better than you. You
Yeah,
if you have to write your project. No one can do your project better than yourself. And then also, if not for anything, you can by that process of writing your project, you can gain first-hand experience in writing your project. And then anywhere you're called upon to write anything, you're going to be familiar with the whole process. And then you also learn to start writing fully. So because you also have to be involved in every process that is related to your research work. So that's another thing. That's another major thing. That's the second um point I want to talk about. Then the third is that if you aren't typing by yourself, when you're submitting your draft for correction, there's something you should do. You could ask the operator at the business center to print your work in the like let's say this example, this A4 paper. This is an A4 paper. Hmm? When you're printing your work for drafts or corrections, you have to like make sure the print is standard. Like there's this word cover that no faculties normally use. So you just have to try and print your work in that standard so that by the time you're going to be submitting your work for example, if you have been submitting draft and okay, I'm going to talk about this subsequently. Maybe if I'm asked the number of pages that is normal in your research work. Because if you use the standard if you, if you use the standard, like let's say you're using an A4 paper. At the end of the day, your project, the number of pages may exceed 80. So you just have to start on time. Because that's the major mistake I made when I was writing my research. You have to start on time to start submit. That's another third point. Can I go ahead?
Okay.
I don't know if you
Yes,
understand
you
that.
can go ahead. Please, if you're watching this, please do well to hit the like button, like this live stream, and also do well to subscribe so that you can continue to get more updates on our live stream and join our conversation as well. Yes, they get the parts where you're talking about them having to commit it to God, doing their project themselves, and also ensuring that they scale it, how they arrange it on the system so that
Yes.
it fits the law standard when printing it on their hard copy. So please, you can go on.
Okay, so the first point I want is that you should try to attend meetings scheduled by your supervisor on time. Whenever your supervisor schedules a meeting, you should try to be present because maybe if they ask you to submit a draft of your work, that day they ask you to submit it, they might be reviewing it that day, and you have to be present there. You have to know the corrections they're going to make, and then you have to submit it on time because there might not be any other time to review your work after they've already scheduled a time for review. So that's another thing to do. You should try and get to attend meetings scheduled by your supervisor on time. So the next thing about is that you should use recommended NAT guide because using this NAT guide would give you a lot of information on footnotes, like what I just explained earlier about footnotes. If you make errors in your footnote, those errors are going to be so noticeable. So you should try to use the recommended NAT guide and the standard format for referencing in everything you're doing. Then the 6 points I'm going to be talking about is that you should use italics. Use italics to write foreign words. If there are foreign words present in your research work or uncommon names, use italics to write them. Write them in italics. And then another point is that you should start each chapter with a fresh footnote. But don't let your footnotes run through every chapter, like chapters 1 to 5, because you could have two, like your footnote should not even get to 100 or something, because each of the chapters, you should start each of the chapters 1 to 5 with a fresh
Please, so that we can hear you
footnote.
more, we can hear you very audible. You can just stay close to the camera and to your audio so that we can hear you very loud, very audible.
Okay, I said I was saying something about starting each of your chapters with a fresh footnote. I didn't know if you hear that point very well.
Yeah, we got the point.
Okay. Then also, I think another thing I want to say is that you should not use EBID. You know this EBID. EBID means in the same place cited as earlier. So don't use
Yes.
EBID to begin a page. For example, the best thing you should do instead of using EBID to start a page, you should use a note system. Let's say a book written by Arinze Isdor. You should use a note system like this. You put Isdor in bracket note 3. Let's say the page before the current page that you want to use EB to start. You should do you should use the note system. You can write it like this: Isdor, you put in bracket note 3. That's the last footnote before this EB you're talking about. Note 3, you close the bracket and then you put the particular page you're citing from. So that's another thing you should do
That's
instead of using EB to
that's very
begin with
fantastic.
any page.
I think everyone should note this particular point because some supervisors require you to footnote in this manner, and that's why footnote referencing is very important. In short, when you look at your NAT guidelines, everything there. Can you hear me? Are you with me? Hello. Please, if you can hear me, can I see you on the chat? Can you make some comment that you can hear me? If you're joining us and you can hear what I'm saying, just comment. I can hear you on the chat. I don't know. Maybe I just lost her. I don't know if it's from my end alone. But if you can hear me, just comment yes. I can hear you, or yes. What's happening to our network? Yeah. So it's very important. Please, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me, guys? If you can hear me, please comment. You can hear me. I don't know if it's from my end or from her end. I think I lost her um some way. So what she was saying is the do's and don'ts when writing your project work. She talked about committing your project with the hands of God. She talked about you writing your project by yourself because no one will write your project the way you would write your project, right? So it's very important that you write your
Okay.
project yourself. I think I lost you at some point. I think I lost you due to network issues, and
Yeah.
you're back. So what I was talking about is in reference to the NAV guide. If you look at the NAV guide, there are so many things on it, and then it's not really strictly followed in different faculties because different faculties are trying to adopt the ninth the NAV guide. Yeah, they have not fully adopted it. It's a process kind of thing. So you should also try while looking at the NAV guide. Also look at good project works from your senior colleagues and see how you can ensure that it tallies with your faculty standard because the faculty also have their way of writing. The same way River State University will write their projects, the same arrangement is not the same terminology in terms of their subtitles that Uni Abuja, for instance, is going to use, for their project work. So it's very important that, in as much as you want to write a good project that's, is nationally, that has compliance with NAT guide, that you also look at tailor that approach to your faculty standard as well. So, do you have any more further do's and don'ts for those writing a project work? I
Yeah,
think
I
you
just wanted to talk
mentioned quite a
about the last one. Yeah, the last point,
lot. Okay. Okay.
abstracts. So that's all.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Thank you very much. We are really running fast on time. Um, if you have any question, please do well to drop them on the chat. Um, thank you for joining. Do well to like this video if you're watching me. If you find this interesting and impactful, do well to like and as well subscribe to this channel to get more updates. Okay, so moving forward, due to time, let me go to the next question. Now, what are the faculty standard on pages, spacing, font size, and formatting? Just quickly, I believe you must have made reference to this. So, quickly, what is the faculty standard on
In
this?
respect to the pages, is a maximum of 80 pages. Maximum of
Okay,
your bibliography. So that's for the pages, number of pages. Then for
including or
the
excluding your bibliography.
including including your bibliography.
Are you serious?
Yes, you do include yours.
No, my bibliography was not part of like number of pages now. It was not even numbered
Okay,
the page number.
okay. That I think that was what I saw in the now guide. That the bibliography includes the number of the maximum pages. For the
Okay.
spacing, so the double line throughout. I've started with filling your abstract and quotations, which have to be in single line spacing. So for the font the abstract was another costly mistake I made in my project work. I had read my work, but I made my abstract to be in font size 12. So I had to rebind it to size for abstract is 10, and then the font size for the normal work, all that apart from the abstract is 12. And then the font face is Times New Roman. I think that's constant everywhere. And then you also have to justify your work. And then the size of the paper, as you're submitting your draft and your corrections to your supervisor, you should just so that can look at the ends or have some standard.
Yeah, are you done?
Yes, and then
Okay. So it's important now for us to know that when writing our projects, that they need to actually arrange. Maybe you can take it to a business center or a printing where where you're going to normally print your project, so that they can arrange it in terms of there is what they call in the system, so that when you're writing, you already know that okay, this is how you're going to print your project. So you don't really see the page because most of the times Most of the times, if you don't do that, students end up exceeding their pages. So it's important that take note that it is 80 pages, no more than 80 pages, and then it's double line spacing. Very important. Don't miss this up.
So that's another. So if you don't follow this format of printing your to us was that when we're
You can
submitting
hear the
our
audio. It's not so audible.
okay, okay, I said that when we're submitting our project work, because we didn't follow this format of printing according to the standard size, we had no choice but
What
to
happened?
like
What happened? Like,
I don't know, can you hear
it's of course
me now?
your voice is pitched very low, and then it is. Can you hear me? It
Yes, I
is
can hear you.
echoing.
Can
It
you
was
hear me?
echoing when you were talking, and they were making a sharp sound. I don't know if you have a device connected at the same time. So just check that
Okay, but
quickly
has
and
it
then
corrected?
get back. Yeah, it
Has it
has
been
stopped now, but your
corrected?
voice is not so audible. Yes, your voice is not
Okay,
so
I
audible, so
said
you can
that
maybe talk.
okay, I said the major reason for doing this, like for printing your work according at the end of the day when you're to work and then your maximum pages is 80. But then using A4 paper, if you put that work on the system and then they put it according to the standard size, it could exceed 80 and even move to 100. Your pages could be in 100. So to avoid you cutting out important needs, that's why it's very important for you to print your work according to the standard size that would fit into the RA you'll be submitting at the end of the day. So that's basically what I was saying. For your network.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that very impactful and insightful section that you just shared with us. That information is very, very important. Without wasting much time, we are already running out of time. I want to ask you the last question. Why is early completion of your project work crucial to your academic success? That's towards you getting an A in your project. Why is being timely? Why is time important? Why is acting fast important to those who are writing their projects? I want to answer that quickly in 1 minute if
Okay,
you
so
can.
the workload in final year is very consuming. So you doing your project work on time is going to help you to balance out your time in order to attend to other courses which can time consuming. But that's not the only thing you're supposed to be doing. So completing it on time will give you the time to face your final exams very well. Also, you would also avoid the rush that normally work. A lot of happen. And almost every business center you go to, you will see everybody doing their project work. And so to avoid mistakes and errors that could have been corrected if you submitted your project work on time, it's advisable to conclude your project work early. Just be fully involved in the process and follow everything according to schedule. So that's very important. That's what I have to say about completing your project work on time.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Comforts, a law graduate from the University, for that very, very impactful section that you have had with us. I believe everyone that has watched to the end, to this point, can testify that they have learned, they have learned more than one thing. So I'm not going to say one or two, they have learned like 3 or 4 things, to take home while preparing or writing their project, their undergraduate law project in their various universities. They're using University as a case study. It has been an eye opener for me, I must say, and I believe that is same for everyone who has joined this live stream. So it's very important that you complete your project early so that your supervisor can also have time to look at your project and give you feedback because I think you're not the only one that is on their it's not only your project that is on their to-do list. They have other important things to do as well. So if you can conclude your project on time, you give them the leverage to prepare themselves to look at your project work, and also figure out this. If you don't give them so much time, they try to hurry them up, beyond the way they can bear. They can take it, as a way to reduce the mark they are supposed to give to you, you know. So I just pray that part of the do's and don'ts that Miss Comfort has mentioned earlier, that you pray to God that God gives you a good supervisor who will be patient with you. If you know you're going to delay, if you know you're going to delay getting your project done, so that he's not going to use that to ambush you. So it's very good that you join these live stream, and then you'll be able to get information on how you can navigate your project. I want to thank everyone. I've been waiting for your questions. I've not seen any question. If you're still with us, please just do well to hit the like button, like this live stream, and also do well to subscribe to this channel so that you can continue getting more updates from us whenever we come on live like this. Miss Comfort, I want to thank you very much for your time. It's really been an amazing time with you. I've enjoyed every bit of it. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the impact so far.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's our pleasure. Yeah, it's a pleasure having you tonight. And I believe everyone have understood what was said since there's no question. So without wasting much time, we're going to end the meeting for today. But I'm leaving here happy that I've learned something. And in case you need to watch this video, you can come over again on the video we made available on this channel, so you can go over the video where you did not hear properly or you don't understand. You can go over the video again. Do also hit the like button, subscribe to this channel. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.